no to boarding stuff, dog. I say no to looting, okay? I'm not standing from this. I'm not going to stand for this. We got to stand for what is right. We got to hold as brethren and sisters and stand for what is right. No to all wrongdoings. Do you understand me? No. Come on, no. We already got a bad name as scrapehead. We don't have to have scrapehead behavior. Oh, God. Back to this. The question I'm asking. Who killed Adriana? Who killed Adriana? Who killed her? That is the question I'm asking all week. Who killed her? Who killed her? Who burned down the hotel with the evidence? Who burned down the hotel? Who is the person responsible for burning down the hotel? We have a lot of questions. How did Adriana hands and knees get bruises? How did that happen or occurred? At what point in time did she drugged? These is questions we need to ask ourselves. These are simple questions. It's not hard questions. It's not. Oh my God. Let me call the doc. We have questions. I have questions. I have questions. I'm going to call a doctor who know a lot of big words and who could break it down. Hi, Doc. Good afternoon. How are you?
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon.
Sorry to disturb you. I'm on live currently right now. And I just listen to me. The comment section, they're breaking it up. You know, as a doctor, right? Could you, what do you specialize in as a doctor? Do you know anything about drugging?
In family practice,
Okay.
which is basically the treatment of any age of patient,
Okay.
but especially from the age of 5 years to geriatrics. I also was trained in emergency medicine.
Okay.
Which is what I did prior to residency, and I did some forensic pathology. But I've been in active practice for 35 years.
35 years.
What is the question about?
The question I want to ask you, Doc, right? I know you see what is going on around, well, in the country, Guyana, currently right now. Yes.
Am I on your program?
Yes, you on my program, yes. You
Yes,
on live.
all right.
I don't want to take up a lot of your time, right?
No. I have as much time for you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Doc. Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Now, how do you, I was asking everybody, right? As a doctor, break down drugged it for me. Drugged it.
Mm-hmm. All right. As I said to you, Doggy, I'm Guyanese. I'm a Guyanese American. I
Okay.
live in the States and practice in medicine as an American-trained, board-certified physician since 1991 in both Miami for 2 years and then the rest of the years in New York City at the same location in Richmond Hill, Queens.
Okay.
My practice of medicine is not primarily is to see patients from the age of 5 years to, and I've been doing it for almost 6 to 7 days per week for the last 35 years. It's not a part-time business. In addition to that, I practice in Jamaica at the University of West Indies in the Department of Surgery, and also at Port of Spain General Mount Hope in Trinidad and Tobago. And in that place, it is where I did my forensic pathology training under the most famous pathologist in the Caribbean, Dr. Neville Janke, God bless his soul, at Port of Spain General Hospital, where we did almost about 1,000 plus post-mortem.
So you did post-mortem, right?
I did post-mortems, yes, sir.
Okay. Now, I can't pronounce the word of the doctors who was in this country, the philosophy. What do you call them?
The doctors and what?
What come to do the autopsy of the young lady? What's the word for it?
They are forensic pathologists.
Pathologists.
Pathology. When you treat a patient when
Okay.
they're alive, and you treat them differently when they passed away, like young Adriana.
Okay.
So you do a pathological assessment of the body parts of that person.
Good.
And the forensic part is basically how can we use the science and practice of medicine to ascertain as much as we can. Let's put this in an anecdotal sense. If I see a victim who's on the street, I'm not quite sure whether they were drunk and they fell, whether or not they were hit by a car, whether or not they were shot with a gun.
Uh-huh.
The initial evaluation is to look at the body and see what is it. Is it signs of trauma? So that is part of what is called pathology, trying to find out the reason and rationale why.
Okay. Now, they were saying she died by drowning, but could we determine how?
All right. Let's say drowning is yes. But let's say you're trying to ascertain, was she dead before they put her in the pool, which means that her death necessarily was not by drowning, but was another cause, and you try to cover it up by putting her under water.
Okay.
If you die by drowning, it means that we all inhale the air that the good Lord has given us.
Yes.
And hence it sustains life. It helps with oxygenation of our cells. Now, water is not supposed to be in the airways. Now, when we get into water, whether fresh or salt water, and there's a difference, or chlorinated water, the water enters into the nostrils or through the mouth. It goes then into the airways, into the main airway, the trachea, and down into the bronchus, into the bronchioles, and then into the alveoli, which are the air sacs in the lungs. When we drown, those air sacs are filled with fluid, and so is the rest of the entire upper respiratory tract airway, i.e. the oropharynx or the mouth, the trachea, and then the main bronchus. Am I making it too technical, or is it?
No. You are the right part. You are the right part, Doc. You are the right part.
Right. So when you do a postmortem,
yes,
and you find fluid, water in the airways, then you know that person would most likely have died by drowning.
Uh-huh.
However, that is not a diagnosis per se to really hang your hat on. I.e., 11-year-old died by drowning. Did someone push her into the pool? Did someone asphyxiate her? Meaning, did you try to muff her voice and then kill her, or do you perform chloroform or any other substance to sedate her? Did you inject her? Did you drug her? Did someone have an ulterior motive to perform to let an 11-year-old involuntarily drown herself or voluntarily drown herself?
Uh-huh. So if she were voluntarily drunk herself, could fatalities, they could tell you that?
Well, that's why the toxicology report, here is my say on this.
Yes.
It is good to say there were no marks of violence. There was no marks of overt trauma. Somebody didn't hit her or someone didn't tie her or arms or legs. They did someone waterboard her by restraining her and then killed her and then put her into the pool. So there was water in the lungs at the time, which says to us that's a classical case of drowning. However, you still need to ascertain, was she killed before? Was anything used, any substance used on her to make her incapable of responding to any threats? She was not a disabled child.
No.
She did not suffer from any brain disorder, epilepsy, etc. to make her be immobilized and then end up into the pool drowned. So it is suspicious circumstance, but you still have to give medicine to go through the course of actually ascertaining where is it. The mucus in her nostrils, was that mucus froth or was just mucus from the respiratory
She
tract.
had something in her nose when she died. I think it's a froth or not.
Well, I was not there, so I don't know exactly.
Okay.
But initially, we looked at it. It looks like a cotton-like stuff, but no one can ascertain it because that was not part of the forensic pathology. What they actually did was to see what was the substance in the nostrils, and the substance in the nostril is subject to a lot of tests to see whether or not it had any poisonous substances. Was it a natural mucosa from the respiratory tract, or could it be something else more extraneous?
Okay. Have you seen her body, Adrian's body?
I've only seen it, Mr. Sampson, from the
Social media.
videos and the other stuff that was there.
Okay.
I wish I was there because there are so many things and so many questions that could have been asked and answered at the same time.
No, you can ask some
questions.
You can ask me any question you want. You can ask questions. Do you have any questions? You have any questions?
Were there any, all right, when you looked at her body, were there signs, the discoloration of the arms itself, which they attributed to being drowning, was it much different from the rest of the body?
I didn't see it. I only see the picture. I didn't see her in person. But I think I might assume so. I don't want to give my mouth liberty. When you say, I see something on her knees and on her arms, both sides. I don't know what is it. Like it was paling. Now, I have another question. How long, when you drunk, right, your body becomes stiff? How long it takes you for your body to get stiff?
The stiffness of the body depends on quite a few factors. The onset of rigor mortis starts to take place within 12 hours of having passed away, meaning no oxygenation, no blood circulation, etc. That we all describe as being dead.
Okay.
However, rigor mortis sets in the sequelae of about 12 hours after. However, the progress of rigor mortis depends on many factors. It depends on the temperature. It depends on the conditions she is in, whether in a refrigerator, whether it's in a closed box, whether in a heated room. In our climate in Ghana, if it's not refrigerated or basically exposed to cold, rigor mortis itself is much more rapid. So I would say that basically if rigor mortis steps in about 8 to 12 hours, the process of rigor mortis would be well advanced within about 8 hours after, 6 to 8 hours after. In a very cold environment, i.e. a refrigerator, you will be much longer, closer to 12 hours.
Okay. Everybody say you talking sense, you make it right. Yes, they agree with you. They very agree with you. Now, I have another smart question. So, besides drowning, right? Could I die? Like, okay, could I be on land? And if somebody could kill me, like they could drown me on a pipe, could I drown on a pipe, or I gotta be in a lot of water to drown?
You have to, your head, your airways need to be immersed. Let's imagine what it can be done. You can be laying flat, but if the water level is to your nostrils and to your mouth, and your chin is above water, yes, you can drown. But the most obvious case is that you don't need to be in a deep pool to drown. You can just be immersed under 2 to 3 inches of water in a tub.
Okay, so 2 to 3 inches of water.
You can be drowned.
Okay, 2 to 3 inches of water in a tub. 2 to 3
inches of water above your nostrils and your airway.
Yeah.
You have no other choice but to inhale, and then you inhale the water, which gets into the lungs.
So basically,
that's the end of the bus.
So basically, with that, just for a child or adult, anybody?
A child or an adult, any person who's breathing, you're breathing air.
Yes.
Which means that you cannot have any other substance, whether it be water, gas, anything else. Okay. Only by putting our head, not the rest of the body, only our head needs to be on the water, meaning our nostrils and our mouth, which are the only 2 ways a human being can breathe. Through your nostrils or your mouth is the only way you can get air. Now we are substituting that air with water. It is not compatible to live with water in your lungs because we need the lungs for air exchange into our blood, into our arteries in the lungs. So if you're substituting that with fluid, with water, then we drown because we can't use the oxygen. There is no oxygen.
Okay, so basically I could hold a child upside down, get a tub of water, hold it by the 2 foot, somebody hold the hands, and put a head on it in the tub. How long do you think it would take for someone to drown?
It can vary depending on the water that's used, whether it is chlorinated water, saline water, or salt water.
Okay, so chlorinated water, that's water with bleach. That's bleach in the water.
Yes.
Okay, so if
because
a water...
that in itself is corrosive.
Yeah.
As well. It's also caused inhalation of the toxic chemicals. But let's assume it's just plain water. After taking about 4 or 5 breaths, you're dead. You're basically going to be brain dead in a very short period of time. Okay. Or you're listless at that point in time. The struggle is over once you've taken 3 or 4 breaths. We all have seen persons who are attempting to stay alive when faced with going underwater. Yeah. They come up, they take 1 or 2, 3 breaths, but after that they disappear. Because there's water in the lungs, they cannot afford to sustain themselves, and they just sink. When now they basically undergo rigor mortis and all the changes, then the body starts to surface.
Okay. I understand.
I mean, we've seen that a lot in Guyana, especially in the country areas, when you say somebody drowned, and they describe it that they're popping their heads under the water, up and down, trying to gasp for air, and then their bodies disappear. And 8 to 10 hours after the body rises, because we are warm climate, and the body undergoes rigor mortis or stiffening, which is the alterations.
So, Doc, if I say example, if I should drug somebody, right? I'm trying to understand the right word. If I should drug somebody outside of a pool, right, and the person die, now I might put her back in the pool. She's gonna float? She's gonna go? The person gonna go down? What's gonna happen if you already die? If you kill somebody, right, by drowning in a little bit of water, and then you throw them in a lot of water, would they go down? Would they float up? What could it possibly happen?
Based on the science, that body needs to go down. The weight of the body will take it down.
Okay.
It is the process of the alterations in the skin and the texture in the flesh that basically cause the rigor mortis, and hence the body becomes less dense than the water and rises. So the answer to your question, yes, the body will go down and remain down based on the climatic conditions for possibly about 8 to 10 hours. If it's very cold, they may remain for quite a while because rigor mortis has not stepped in. And there's no change in the specific gravity of making it simpler for you or making it work.
Yeah, I understand it. No, that is very simple as possible. I'm very understanding. Correct.
Thank you.
I have a caller. Biff, do you want to say something?
Yeah, doctor, how you doing? I kind of missed it. I was talking to somebody, but so did y'all clarify about the
Yes. Let me
the fraud?
tell you what the doc said. This is a real doctor. He said you could kill somebody in a little bowl of water, in a tub of water, okay, in a short period of minutes.
Yeah.
Now,
No, I know that, but I'm saying with the fraud and the nose stuff. Did y'all clarify that?
Oh, doc, when stuff frothy in your nose?
No. Ask him. No, ask him. What was that in her nose? Did he notice any fraud in her nose or any cotton wool in her
First
nose?
of all, this doctor is in America, sir.
Oh,
he don't live in Ghana, in America.
Okay, so they know what he know. He would know because he have representation. Just ask him. Did they notice any cotton?
A question, doc. I have a caller. Want to ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, hi, Doc. How you doing? So the question is, right? Based on your knowledge, what do you think was in Adriana's nose? Was it cotton wool or was it fraud?
It's difficult, sir, to ascertain looking at just the TV, and my TV doesn't have the greatest definition in the world. It is a different color from the skin color. It could have been the froth from the nostril, or it could have been some foreign object. The mere fact the pathologist did that, and I'm sure they would have looked at the footage, they did ask for the specimen, or maybe they did ask, but I do not have enough knowledge to say that. However, in general, what I can say is when a body has been submerged and the air in the airways are replaced by the fluid which we swallow. That will produce the frothing. Now, when you're underwater, that frothing will be disappearing from your nostrils. If that body is brought up immediately and merged into the water, then you will see the frothing, which is the water from the lungs that the person just swallowed, and mixing with the air will produce the frothing.
Okay.
So, doctor. So, hold on. Let me get this straight. So, you're basically saying if the body was in the water with the front of her nose, the front would have been washed away.
Yes, sir. To the best of my knowledge, under the conditions which we have in Guyana, which is warm water.
So okay, so I got y'all questions. Hold on, I got this right. So, doc, I want to rule this out completely because everybody been wondering, everybody been asking, right? And I
Yeah.
don't want to mess this up. So, is it safe to say we can rule out the fraud in her nose, right? Because if it was fraud, then the water would wash it away.
Easily. But I
Okay,
can't rule out anything because I was not there on the scene.
okay. So,
The
all
three
right.
pathologists who were there, I'm sure, were very well qualified because that is such a basic assumption, sir. Because that's one of the things you look at. You drunk. That means you drunk because you have air, you have water replacing the air in your nostrils, your
Yes.
oropharynx, your
No,
bronchus,
but
you
my
drink it, and
thi-
then
this this would lead me to my next question, right? Because the reason why I'm trying to rule it out is because if that's ruled out, then it leaves us to believe, right, that it was a foreign object in her nose. So if it was a foreign object in her nose, then that tells us that something is going on other than her just falling in the pool.
I think your assumption is accurate, but then again, I will defer to those who were there at the time of the incident, i.e., the father, and also the pathologists who are trained to recognize these
You
things as
know,
well.
doctor, I'm sorry for taking up your time, but these questions are really valid and what you call crucial and critical, right? But it's just bothering because everybody's saying, okay, cool, the body's there, right? Then what? I mean, why wouldn't anybody make this a big deal? And we're not talking about social media because social media is the one that brought this to everybody's attention, right? But we're not talking about social media here. We're talking about people that's there, or the family, or the doctors themselves, or the pathologists, or anybody. Why isn't anybody at all around y'all questioning whether or not was there a foreign object? Because you did see that on the body. What was that? Since you guys are going over footages, you guys going over clips. Why hasn't anybody came across that clip to see what happened? Because I heard you guys wanted to see, a series of time what happened to the body, right? So why wasn't anybody questioning about the object in her nose or what was that?
You have to
You
test it.
have a valid point, and I'm sure it's something of concern. Was there something there before? Was it removed? When was it removed? When was the last time someone saw it? So there are lots of unanswered questions if the premise of what you're saying is correct. But what I allude to is something more important than
What
that.
what
When
is
you do
that?
the initial evaluation and you see that there's no evidence of overt trauma, i.e., all of us can look and see at a body whether or not someone tried to strangle that person by marks on their neck or their arms, or was that person restrained. But in addition to that, we also can see where the elements of restriction, meaning did she fight, did she scream, did she was she being restrained, and she was resisting. Those are elements that are easily found on the corpse of someone who's gone through a struggle. But what we still have to be faced with is when the toxicology comes back. We hope it reveals, was she subject to anything else? Was chloroform put onto her to sedate her,
Okay,
to compromise her physical status,
so
to
with
make it
that,
easier for somebody to submerge her
so
underwater?
doctor, so okay, because we could run conspiracy theories all day, but if that really is a foreign object, then maybe that cotton was stuffed with something that would probably knock her out. But wouldn't you guys see that on the autopsy? Like what was in her system, what was a part, what went to her brain, what went to her bloodstream, or went to her blood vessel, whatever it is, how y'all ever you guys do it, wouldn't you see that?
Yes, you will get the toxicology report is when you take the blood,
Uh-huh.
you spin the blood, and then you separate the red blood cells, the white blood cells from the serum. Then you analyze the serum or the plasma of the blood. That's a clear portion of the blood. And you check it for all the substances that we find commonly in persons who have actually undergone suspicious death, in which they were either restrained and then someone took advantage of them, whether by drowning, whether by asphyxiation, squeezing their neck, etc. So the toxicology report was received. If you take her blood, obviously, Adrienne, she will not have chloroform. She will not have a toxic substance. Someone would have had to administer it to her. There was no evidence of it being administered through the skin or through the blood vessels, intravenous or intramuscular anyway. Then it must have been through the nostril.
Yes. So now,
Get into the
now we see, right? Because now I think the public has a clear understanding that even if you guys are not making it a big deal, that is a big deal, because how else would anything enter her body, right? So now that we rule out that it's not fraud, and it could be a foreign object such as a cotton, then that could have been a more possible way of how they got to knock her out and way, to drop in that pool and not have a fight for her life. Because if you're unconscious, your body's gonna go into a shock, right? So we don't know, but that whole nostril stuff is definitely important. And I got two more questions, doctor, and that's it. But the next question is, what about time of death? And the last question is, what about the discoloring or bruises looking type stuff on her arms, legs, and her I think it's the shin and the instep or the kneecaps? She had discoloring and bruises on her body. What is that? And the time of death, exact time of death.
first.
Let's do the second question first,
And-
please.
Doggy, it's okay?
Yeah, it's okay. Continue.
Yeah. Let's take the second question first, which is basically signs of external signs of trauma. It is not difficult for even the father or any other non-medical personnel to look at a body and see where there's signs of trauma. The skin will be discolored. The skin might be eroded. It makes it a little bit difficult after 24 hours being submerged in water. I'm just making the assumption that she probably passed away at that time when her grandmother missed her to the time when her body was found. If there was an interval of time, let's say, instead of it being her missing at 1 o'clock, and she was probably killed at 11 o'clock, or she probably passed away at around midnight, then the period of time of the skin changes would bring about a different morphology. It would look different. If our body was immersed in water for, let's say, 12 hours,
Okay.
it's different from what it will look in 24 hours.
Yeah.
So it's more important for the person at the site to make that assumption. Now, coming to the previous question, it is for us to describe the process in which a body, when it's immersed in water, we haven't established time of death yet, because no one has been able to say how advanced was the state of decomposition that they mentioned. Was it 12 hours? Was it closer to 6 hours? Because there's timelines to say this is what a body will go through in a climate as warm as Guyana in terms of rigor mortis stepping in. If we put the body in the hot sunshine, rigor mortis was the onset of rigor mortis, or stiffening or alterations of the tissues of the body, the muscles, the skin, etc. takes 5 to 6 hours. In a colder climate, it takes 12 hours, in excess of 10 to 12 hours. In a refrigerator or freezer, it is going to take longer. So we are facing with issues that we need to address is, what were the terms of, where was the body found? What was the terms and conditions that took place? Because we have to figure out where did the death occur?
Okay.
And how did it occur?
Doc, you made some valid points, right? But let me just go based on what you were saying, right? You said, okay, cool. The body. Let me not go with what you're saying. I'm sorry. Let me go with what I'm saying. If the body, right, is showing a type of discoloring, and you can also sit here and agree that it does not match the same of a body that was somebody that was drowned, right? Then we can say it's foul play, but I'm not trying to get you to say nothing, but I'm asking questions because how could it be possible that she drowned in this pool when she have this coloring that doesn't match of a drowned body or a drowned person, right?
You're making you're making a lot of sense, but what needs to be done is to ascertain how long was Adriana's body in the
But
pool,
wouldn't that
and that
wouldn't that be wouldn't that be wouldn't that be easy to calculate based on the footage? Because listen, if we calculate the time that she went missing and calculate the time that everybody was there that morning from the video footages, everybody was circling around that pool, the outside. If y'all really look over the frames, like they said you guys were right, you would see that it only had to been a matter of few hours, the max, where that body could have even entered that pool to the time they found that body, right? And if you match that, you would know. If you do the also you do the calculations, you would know what a body would look like out of a water, like you was just breaking down, and the body would look like in water, right? These type of stuff, it shouldn't be a problem. It shouldn't be that hard for us or people to even. I shouldn't even have to be here asking these questions. This should be highlighted for everybody to see, right? And these questions are really being hidden.
I am not disagreeing with you in any way, form, or fashion, but I think it's presumptuous for
Uh
me
huh.
to make a statement based on the simple fact that I was not in
Okay.
Guyana. I've not seen the body. I've just seen the footage that you have
Uh huh.
that appears on social media. But my concern, sir, more than anything is, as a Guyanese, as an American trained board certified physician of Guyanese
Uh huh.
descent, practicing in the United States for the last 35 years, came from poverty, grew up in Pleasance, better up on the East Coast. Adriana was one of us.
Facts.
My concern is not so much to ascertain the science of this, but if this were a child of a more affluent parent, she would not have died because she would have had protection. The police response would have been different. There was no need for us to basically assume that finding out the reason why she died is as important for us to correct the injustices that we have in our society. The rich and the powerful have a different rule of law. Those who are entitled get a different treatment. We need to address the situations, the socioeconomic situations of our people, more than focus just on was the cotton wool, etc. I think it's important, and I think physicians and the medical field will get it right. And these three physicians, I have the honest feeling that they're great people. But the bigger questions that should be asked by both major political parties is not to have a dog in the fight, but how can we prevent another Adriana from going from us? She's like one of our daughters. But because she didn't have wealth, because she didn't have the opportunities, because she didn't have political representation, you should have a relative who's a minister or someone high up in the government, in the opposition, or in the present government. Let us address the situation as it is.
Doctor,
It's a socio-economic issue.
Doctor, listen, right? While I do wholeheartedly agree with you, I have to give a little pushback because we wouldn't have a need to prevent these stuff from happening, from like Adriana stuff like Adriana happening, if evil people didn't exist, right? And I want you to just follow what I'm saying. Now, if we found the root cause, so how she died, then we would also know how to prevent this. We can't know how to prevent a situation if we don't understand details or understand how it even happened in the first place. Because we can say, oh, yeah, keep your eyes on your kids, but you don't even know if that man had set a trap in the bathroom. Now, all the kids in the bathroom going missing, and you wondering, oh, I was protecting my kids the whole time. But if you understand how she died, then you would understand what to prevent. You would understand the measures to take.
I agree with you 100%. Hence, there's a need for us to have a system of governance where these incidences are not shoved under the rug. I'm just listening as much as any Guyanese who's interested in their country.
Yeah.
Even though I left 40 years ago, I've been practicing in Little Guyana, which means I've been hearing the cries and seeing the cries of Guyanese who actually migrated, but still have Guyana at heart. This is not supposed to be. From what they're saying and from, I have no independent um, um, way of verifying this, that this is not the first incident. And this is not going to be the last. But we need to take measures
No,
to
it needs to
address
be
it
the last,
by
doctor. It needs to
addressing
be
it
the
and finding
last.
out the cause. I agree with you, but at the same time, At the same time, these are things that basically human rights, United Nations, Children's Act, PAO have an interest in. And I will take it as a personal mission to advocate for this in United States of America through the medical field. I'm going to set up a page book for this. I never told this to Doggy.
Yeah.
But I literally spent the last 48 hours trying to find a way in which I can use my education in the United States of America as a physician to prevent another Adriana.
Yes.
And I'm agreeing with you every aspect of what you say. If it's the first instance, then why wasn't something done before?
One question. Doc, I got a question, right?
But here again, it's the people who are poor, the people who are marginalized are the ones who are affected.
I have a question for you, Doc, and this is very vital, right? Just listen carefully, right? Now, being as though I know you have your job as a doctor, right? And then you have your personal life as a human being, right? As an individual. I'm asking you, as a father, right? As a father, I don't know if you're a parent, because you don't have to have a child to be a father too. You can have that instinct, right? As a man of
as a father, whatever.
Yeah, as a man of integrity, when you have the chance or you have the opportunity to speak to the government or the higher power, or to speak on this report that you're doing or whatever you guys are doing, what would that speech or that conversation look like? Would it include the fact that it's unjust being done to this child and you can't explain it based on a drowning person? Or would it be like, oh, she just drowned and yeah, just leave it alone? Or, like what would it look like?
It would look like the former. I am a person who didn't come from privilege. I've not benefited from either PNC or PPP. I'm an independently thinking person who grew up without any benefits from anyone else. My father was a taxi driver, so I didn't come from persons of affluence. I know what it is to grow up in poverty. I know what it is to grow up without having a prop. My position would be to ask the hard questions to the government and to the opposition. Why wasn't something done? Why aren't things done earlier? Why are the disadvantage of the marginalized addressed? I do not have a pony in this fight. And what if it means that I need to take it to the next level and even use my forum, the United States of America, as a physician here, a practicing physician for 40 years, to basically say, let us not have another Adriana, because we need to set up. The police response was so lethargic.
Doc, I don't mean to interrupt you. I don't want to shove the point, but Doc, let me just bring you back to the point real quick, right? What I find odd is that even when the president made his speech, right, and everybody's talking about this, right, nobody on the government side, on the official side, including doctors, nobody's actually mentioning the stuff that is odd. Now, example, right? They're gonna say yes, she drowned. They're gonna say yes, it was recklessness. They're gonna say all this, right? And it's a case, a closed case. But what they're not saying is what we still can't find out or figure out what are the discolorants on her body, what was actually in her nostrils, why her body was just floating on the top of the water, right? And me personally, Mace, I feel like the government or whoever in the higher ups, they're not taking a neutral stance. They're taking a biased stand, because why would you not mention both flips side of the coins? Like, you mentioned in one side saying yes, she was not she drowned, she was not murdered or whatever, right? Whatever excuse it is, but you're not saying the odds of the situation. It's odd about what was in her nose. It's odd about her discoloring. It's odd that her body floated upward and not in a crooked position. If she was in a fetus position, right? If she actually drowned in that pool, and if she actually drowned in the pool, then how she just randomly started floating, right? These questions are not even being thrown out there or even questioned by the government, but still we're hearing, oh yes, she drowned. Yes, she drowned. The pathologist ruled out this. Yeah, the pathologist say this. The pathologist say that. But nobody's mentioning these critical information that's missing. And I think those information that's missing would really bring us to a better understanding about what happened, right? So we got to focus on these stuff. Why is it a different discoloring on the body if this is a drawn body? Why did she have a cotton wool on her nose? You feel me? If it was so-called fraud, then the water would have washed it away. Why didn't the president say that? Why didn't the president say, somebody needs to be held accountable, because that was not fraud?
I'm agreeing with you And those are all very, very relevant and pointed questions and have a sense. However, I think it makes us feel very, very limited if, and I have no pony in this fight, if the president has to answer questions like that. He is not a physician. However, there's a minister of health who should be sitting at that table.
Yes.
They're members of the commissioners of health, the chief medical officers. They all should be sitting at a table. He can do the right thing, which is to act as the head of state and to calm the country as best as he can to prevent unnecessary violence, etc. Because tempers are flaring, emotions are high. His role is to maintain stability. However, as you rightfully say, he owes it to the people of Guyana to give pertinent and lucid explanations to them, because we have a learned population. And if they're not learning immediately, they learn it by Google and WhatsApp, etc. The explanation should be coming from the medical personnel in Guyana who should be sitting at the same table and answering every question that you ask, because people deserve answer. Adriana's parents deserve pertinent answers to your questions. The media deserves pertinent answers. We can't just shrug this under the rug and pretend that I am not saying that I'm trying to shield the president, because I can't. I'm such a simple person. However, his role is to answer the questions that matter to the state of the country, the state of the police, how not to make this happen again, etc., etc. But at the same time, the questions you're asking are solely medical and law enforcement, and it should have been answered by those personnel in those ministries as well.
Very well.
I appreciate you, Doc. And look, Doc, I appreciate your work and your service for the Guyanese people, for everybody, in fact, right? And I really don't want you to feel attacked or bombarded or feel like like we don't trust y'all. But it's just a lot of stuff that's in question, that's not being answered, which is why we have that sense of insecurity. And I wholeheartedly feel like if there's no questions to be asked, then you won't have a need to feel insecure. So we the people do feel hurt, we feel angered, we feel hesitant, we feel paranoid, we feel like we lost belief, lost trust in everybody and everything around us, right? Because of this little situation. And had it been an adult, I don't want to say that it would have been the same or took the same effect, but we cannot sit here and not acknowledge that this is a child we're talking about, right? So you hurting a child, like, bro, like this is beyond me. Like you need some real punishment, right? So this is not a regular human being. You and them had beef and you murdered them or whatever. That would have been okay, cool. Y'all had y'all beef and that's what it is. That's some street shit. But this is a child we talking about. And I got a 7-year-old daughter and I got 2 sons after her. And I don't want to put myself in a predicament, but this shit really made me feel like, yo, this is my child too. So I think it's safe to say we all, as the people that's watching right now, the people that been watching for the past few weeks, like, yo, we too feel like this is our child, right? So forgive us for the angered people. Forgive us for the you might see comments, some people that saying harsh with stuff, but we just angry. We just angry people right now, So I really do want to say thank you for even partaking in that.
I am on your side. As a father, I'm on your side.
Correct.
As a Guyanese, I'm on your side.
Correct. Doc.
I don't have a political party on my side.
Correct.
I don't come from affluence. I am on your side. You are perfectly correct. If there are persons who have done this before, they don't deserve to be in society, and death penalty is not an option.
Okay.
They should punish for the rest of their lives for doing this. This is not something you take lightly. There's no unnecessary wrath in this. Everyone has a child. Everyone has somebody who they can identify with. So this is definitely nothing wrong with this kind of emotion. It is right. And I am not on the other side. I am on the side of the Guyanese who are marginalized, because that's where I came from. So include me in your discussions regarding your side, because 75% of Guyanese are considered poor. I may have evaded poverty by becoming a physician, but it was on the back of the taxpayers when I got a Guyana scholarship. So I'm on your side. I'm on the side of the truth. I'm on the side of getting it right to prevent another Ariana.
Yes, Doc. Yes, Doc. Doc, I want to say thank you for your time. I appreciate it. I might not know to pronounce big words, but I got big boy friends and big boy doctor. Doctor, on behalf of the Doggy Show, thank you very much. The viewers in the comment section, they love you, and you are the definition of a real doctor. It's glad to have you on my side. Thank you, Doc. And God
it's
bless
always
you.
a privilege to come on. You can always feel any chance of texting me to say,
Yes.
look, we need to have a discussion on this. Our people need a little bit of advice.
Yes, Doc.
Sir, if I can mind, Dr. Philip Balde from Pleasant, from Better Hope,
Yes,
is
Doc.
willing, ready, and able at any time, in any forum, in any sort of conversation.
Yes.
And I include conversation regarding United Nations to take this to the next level.
Okay.
Because United Nations Organization for the Protection of Children has to be involved in this as well. This is not a Guyana fight. This has now become an international fight.
International fight, definitely. Definitely. Doc, everybody agree with you. They say God protect you. They love you. You are a true definition of a doctor. And continue studying, okay? Thanks for being on my side of my team. Thank you, Doc.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Wow. Wow. Yes. This is the problem with me. I might know big words. I get big boy fucking friends. Do you understand me? I don't need to pronounce physicology, whatever the fuck you call these big words. I got the right man at the right time. Welcome to the Doc. He's a part of Doggy. I know to talk properly. I might slur my fucking words, but I got people on my side. It's gonna break in, dog. Do you understand me? Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Doggy Show. I'm your host. What a truly sexy dog. I must say, I don't hardly agree with Myth, but the boy could ask the right fucking question. We're going to give a round of applause to Myth, the fucking bastard. Come on, comment section. Give Myth some arts. Yeah. Give him some arts. He asked the right question because he is Myth. That's what Myth do. Get his story across and he understand. You fucking bastard, Myth. Give him some arts. That's it. We could use our platform to educate each and every one. It takes a dunce. But a lot of you guys watch, you call me a dunce, right? Oh, Doggy, you're a fucking ass. Here's a cross, here's a dunce. But you're listening to this dunce. Without this dunce, you would understand breakdown of keywords. Motherfuckers, get it right. Get it right. The Doggy Show is the good, the bad, the indifferent, and the fucked up. You can't understand, I gonna bring people and break it down to you. That is what life is about. That is all. So you guys understand, right? I have just learned a lot of stuff too. So a little bit water in the tub could drunk somebody. Okay? Now, when you go in, with example, like how Ariella was in the pool, she could have come up so quick because all the water in the body, how did she float up so quick? Keywords. Key fucking words. Y'all understand? I don't have to spell it for you guys. I don't have to spell it for you guys. You can't float up so quick. Drummed it. Dickhead. Are you dumb? Uh-huh. Well said. Well said. I think I left this teeth out my mouth because the teeth out my mouth, I got a lot of sense and a lot of knowledge. Uh-huh. What y'all think, comment section? What you guys think? Talk to me. Talk to me, okay? Talk to me. Oh, this is so much. This is. And it's good to give your opinion. Nothing is wrong giving your opinion. Dad.
Yo, dog, you can hear me?
Yeah, clearly, brother. Good afternoon. Yeah, clearly. Wait, you got off. You got off. You got off. Call back. You got off. You got off. Let me accept this. Okay. Accept the one. Molly, you have to swipe out and swipe in, Molly. Molly, you have to swipe out your phone and swipe in. You know, like the big meaty hole, you swipe in and you swipe out. Yeah, Ted.
Yo, bro, you hear me now?
Yeah, I could hear you clear. Yes, crystal
All
clear.
right.
Yes.
So listen, since you got this connection with the people, the mother, the father, and them, I know you probably got their numbers or whatever, right?
Correct. Yes.
So I got two questions for you straight up, right?
Okay.
One, why is it that okay, we got GoFundMe going on, MMG, we got Spice talking about donating, we got all this thing, we got Muhammad on our side, you know? Why can't we reach out to the family and have them not bury Adriana and see if is there a way possible, which I don't know, to ship her
Okay.
body out and have it examined somewhere out of Guyana.
I like that. I like,
We
wow.
don't want to rush this burial, bro. Like
I like
as
that.
you can
Very good
see,
point.
this is the
Very good point.
closest we Guyana
Yes.
have ever gotten towards
Yes.
getting some sort of justice.
Yeah.
So much riots and something, bro. It's really close. And to bury her, just like, I know the father, the parents want that body, her soul to rest in peace. You feel me? But
I like
we
that.
gotta use this as the time to say, you know what? Let's go all out. We done got his grandparents in jail, facing 5 to 10 years, nigga. You feel me?
Yes.
These guys are
Yes.
already going down for sure. We ain't talking about the one that was looting. And I mean, let's be honest. In America, you can have peaceful protests and it still ends up with looting. Looting is just a casualty
Definitely.
that happens with